If things are not going well and you're really unhappy at work, you may think that the solution is to move to another firm. But before you do that, there are some crucial questions that do need to be asked. Now, these questions may be uncomfortable and you'll certainly have to be honest with yourself. But when you're on the far side of asking and answering those questions, I think you might have a moment of clarity which will really serve you. Hello, my name is Stephen Wright. I'm a career coach here at Career Mentor, and we help high-performing financial services professionals make their next smart career move. So these questions stem from the notion that it's not the environment that you're in, the leadership, the role, the colleagues and so on, but it's you that is at the core of your career woes. And even if you do make a successful move to another firm, you will take you with you. So it's not really solving the problem anyway. So what I'd like to do is to talk about this in two ways. First, you, and then the environment. Some time ago, I was coaching somebody who came to me because they were in an unpleasant downward spiral at work. She was finding it very difficult to motivate herself, and she wasn't really doing very much constructive during the work day, and her morale was very low. And of course, the feedback that she was getting from her boss was very poor, which made her feel even worse about herself, even more difficult to motivate herself. Her confidence continued to drain away, and she came to me thinking, if I change my environment, if I change the firm that I move to, I'll get a new fresh start, and I'll be able to set things off. So we had a long conversation. I started talking about the environment that she was in. I talked about the leadership of the firm, her colleagues, her role and so on. And actually it occurred to her that she was in fact in a benign environment. And so we turned the conversation to her and her work rate, her positivity and her energy. And it became apparent not only to me, but also to her, that actually it was her performance at work which was at the core of the problem. So we then came together with a plan in order to stop this downward spiral, and that she could have this plan that would put her on a positive upward trajectory, and that if she did this for long enough and intensely enough, then good things would follow. In fact, it may not even be necessary for her to consider moving to a new firm. So with that in mind, it might be an idea to ask yourself some questions, to rate yourself on the following things. I'm just going to refer to my notes here. The first is to rate your work rate, and then rate your energy and enthusiasm and positivity that you bring on a daily basis, and how consistently are you doing that day in, day out, and so on. You can also think about how well you're meeting your targets and the objectives that you've agreed to, how intelligently you're using your time, how well you're networking with your colleagues and with your bosses and internally, and then of course externally with any clients or anybody you might do outside the firm. How well you're preparing for meetings, and in those meetings, what is the quality of the questions that you're asking and the opinions that you're offering, and also how well you're recognizing and applauding the efforts of your colleagues. So maybe you want to run through that list and rate yourself and anything else that you think might be factors, just to really get an understanding as to where you are and how well you rate yourself, to understand where you are in that position. Now let's turn our attention to the environment. And of course we want to give ourselves a reality check on just how good or bad our environment are. And there's a whole load of factors that we can think about there. The quality of the leadership, the strategy, the vision, how good is the plan, how well they are adapting the plan to changes in the marketplace and the opportunities afforded by technology or shifts in the regulatory environment, how well you rate your relationships with your colleagues and the values that people live by, and so on. Have a think about all of those things and give yourself a reality check on just how good or how bad or whatever the situation is where you are just now, the environment that you're in. So for example, I did not do this exercise when I was early in my career. I was working for a boutique executive search firm, which actually on reflection was a really, really good environment. And I only realized that when I left that firm to what turned out to be a pretty unpleasant wake-up call. So the grass is not always greener. So have a think about the environment that you're in before you consider making any move. The final thing to say is that the environment that you're in can change pretty quickly, for good or for bad. So for example, I used to know a trading floor which was utterly fantastic. The leadership was great. Everybody on the trading floor was great. They're really, really good at what they did. The productivity was through the roof. These people were fantastic. Morale was really high. They were doing great things. And all of a sudden things changed. The company brought in a new leadership team. That leadership team hired in people they knew. And all of a sudden, within about 12 months, the place was almost unrecognizable. Morale was through the floor. Smart people started leaving, and smarter people had already gone, having seen the writing on the wall. So be aware, be acutely aware that the environment that you're in can change quite quickly, but maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, who knows. I hope you find that useful. If you are unhappy at work and you do think that you might benefit from a 30-minute conversation, then please do reach out. All my contact details are at the top of my LinkedIn profile in contact info, and it'd be a pleasure to have that conversation. Thanks very much.